Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email us, Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase pricing and availability questions concerning this watch. Today we are discussing a D-Series circa 2001 Panerai Luminor Marina. This is the legendary PAM00086, a very distinct design with a memorable dial featuring the original Panerai Bertarini case created by Panerai employee Alessandro Bertarini in the 1990s. This is a watch that is an unconventional Luminor Marina, mostly by dint of an unconventional multi-toned and metallic brushed dial. So the watch is 44 millimeters in diameter, 15.7 millimeters thick, 53.1 lug-to-lug, with a traditional 44 millimeter Panerai, 24 millimeter spacing between the lugs. It's on a lovely strap, and I believe the terminology for this one is Ranger in Panerai speak. You can see how it wears on my 16 centimeter circumference wrist. I think this wears just fine. I often say with Panerai watches, ignore the lugs, just go by the shape and size of the case. If the edge of the case is inboard of your wrist, you're okay, because the look on these is always supposed to be big, even oversized. So a bit too large is just right, and this is a good fit. So if your wrist is, let's say, 15 centimeters circumference and up, this is going to be a nice match. It's not thin, but it's also not monstrously thick, and it does feature a sloped bezel, so it should slide underneath a dress cuff. And by that, I mean a dress jacket cuff, not necessarily the shirt sleeve. Taking a look at the strap, you can see it's got a lovely reddish brown tone with a contrasting stitch. And then it has a broad edge that is actually folded, so it's sheer like a cut edge, but it's actually folded. There is some bolstering to add volume, and then you can see this is a brand new Panerai factory strap. It's lined with calfskin. Calfskin on the top, calfskin on the bottom, very different colors and grains though. No crimping, no gouging, brand new factory piece. The buckle, you can see, is fit to the strap using screws and bars, and the case is held to the strap using screws and bars. So if you are a Paneristo, a fan of the brand, you've already got the jeweler's screwdrivers to start swapping. I always liked this setup, and I mourned the arrival of spring bars on Panerai watches in the mid-2010s. This is the way it should be done. This is a lot more security than a spring bar, and it also prevents disaster. I've seen spring bars that are in place for years suddenly pop out for no reason with no warning, so I always like to see this. And we do have that sort of tuna can-like case. In 2002, with the PAM00086, the 1950, we got that more 6152 combat watch profile, whereas this is very much civilian Officine Panerai from 1993. When those first three models were launched, the Luminor and Luminor Marina featured this case design. And you can see that it is almost entirely satinated to match the anti-glare aesthetic of the dial. The only polish is the outer lip of the bezel. We have the device protecting the crown, a historic Panerai patented element that is also probably the most distinctive crown guard in the world. Cover everything else and you know what brand and you know what model line. Now it also has another advantage. You can see even if the crown gets hit perpendicular here, it's not going to be damaged, whereas a shouldered crown guard can be hit and damaged if you hit it just right. Another thing is that it's very easy to unlock your crown. Locked, 300-meter water resistance. Flick the lever. Now you can wind it. Now you can set it. Lever back down. 300 meters. So not only is it easy to manipulate with wet, sweaty, or gloved hands, sometimes a screw-down crown can be tough when your hands are really slippery. This is easy, but it's also hard to drown your watch. Now, if a screw-down crown is backed out a turn or two, you might not notice. This is harder to avoid. A famous Panerai patent from the period when all the Panerai watches were manual wind, and day after day, they were screwing the crowns in and out, especially back when Rolex made the cases. They were oyster cases with oyster crowns and screw-down action. You'd eventually wear out the stem tube assembly and the case seals. Here, you merely decompress and recompress the seals. There's nothing threaded. So let's unlock it. A couple of things to note. First, pull the crown out all the way, hacking seconds. Next, take a quick look. This watch features an intermediate position that allows you to rapidly cycle the date. The movement is a 7750 P1, which is a Valshoe 7750 with the chronograph parts removed. Unidirectional automatic winding with a 4 Hz beat rate, 21 joules, 42-hour power reserve, and 5-position adjustment, as well as a COSC Swiss chronometer certification. It is a tank-tough and very precise movement that is universally serviceable. So whereas I wouldn't want to send a twin barrel Panerai in-house caliber anywhere except Panerai, this kind of 7750 with just the guts of the automatic and the calendar, this is something you absolutely can have serviced anywhere by anyone who is competent with basic ETAs. Now on the dial, Panerai did something Rolex probably should have years ago, which is to put the Cyclops eye underneath the crystal and then keep it unobtrusive. It can't get sheared off by accident. Now, if you look carefully, you can see that the hands have a frosted finish, matching the anti-glare aesthetic of the watch. An unusual Panerai dial, both because of the fact that the numerals are mostly not loomed, and then the indices are, as well as the blue metallic vertical brushed graining. You can see it's a little bit like brushed stainless steel. It has a curtain aesthetic that's metallic blue, matte, and very cool. We also have a silver register with a azurage or concentric pattern inboard. Let's take a look. Luminor once upon a time was a beta-activated tritium-based lume. Today, Luminor describes this case, but it is also luminous, including the crosshair style small seconds. So a very cool watch from the early Vendôme period when Panerai still had a lot of the original Italian soul to it. This is a highly sought model that's been worn by many celebrities. I'm not going to bore you with that detail here. I'm just going to say it looks awesome. It feels as though it's built like a tank, and it is one of those watches that is a dyed-in-the-wool classic Panerai. If you ever worry about purity as a Paneiristo, this is one for the old guard. Reach out to Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.